For a brand new startup and its first-time founders, an accelerator program is an ideal opportunity to get valuable peer, mentor, and financial support. Our guest is the executive director at one of the world's leading accelerator programs and a global hub for entrepreneurship. Whew. Get ready for a delicious conversation on the Startup Life Live Show. Let's glow, everyone. Hello and welcome to the Startup Life Live Show. I'm your host, Andy Lyons, 4 times founder and startup champion to founders around the world. And after raising 4 businesses of my own, I have a really good idea of what you are going through every single day. And I am in awe and wonder of how you are staying focused and tenacious and resilient and persistent as you build your startup. And I'm also really grateful that you tuned in to up your founder game here on the Startup Life Live Show. I know you're going to get incredible insights and advice and prompting moments that will get you thinking about solving amazing problems that you're dealing with in your startup. And the most important thing to remember is that as you do better, that's right, your startup will do better. Big yoo-hoo to the live viewers and replay viewers and podcast listeners. I'm so grateful you're tuning in and carving time out to up your founder game as well, and that you're here. I just want to remind everybody to be sure to like, if it's a video, podcast, please share it in your feeds, because this is how we reach more founders. I'm here in Boston. My guest is over in San Francisco. We are in vibrant, rich, resource-filled locations for startup founders, but not everybody else is. So if you can share this, it really helps us have a greater impact on founders around the world. And if you're tuning in from YouTube, please click the subscribe button and the bell icon so you get notices every time I go live. And to get a deep dive on all my guests, join the Startup Life Live meetup group. This is where I provide all the deep information for you on who we're going to be interviewing on Tuesdays and Fridays, because this is where I am on Tuesdays and Fridays at 12 noon EST, sharing the Andy-licious advice. Just a few Andy-licious announcements today. I want to remind everyone, look, hop on over to Arlen's Academy. There is so much free advice there for you. You're going to be able to scroll through a bunch of really meaningful pieces of advice for your founder journey. Hop on over there and get the scoop. And there's a great film being made right now, documentary film called Girls Just Wanna Have Funs, and you can donate to this film. We had Catherine Gray, one of the directors, on the show, and she's doing a phenomenal job with this documentary film, highlighting why women and girls just want to have funds and how we're not getting them. And speaking of funds, please check out Scroobius. If you're raising capital, this is one of the best places for you to be. Human First Fundraising. They get you up and running with the best pitch deck for you. They help you create a video pitch deck. And it's just a tremendous way to not only get peer support, but also some introductions to investors. So use the promo code Andy15 to get 15% off their pricing. And I know you will benefit from that experience. So I'm so excited to introduce you to our guest today. This is a really exciting moment because she is one of the few female-led accelerator executive directors. It's Caroline Winnett. And Caroline, here we go. Let me just bring up some artwork here, is the executive director of one of the world's leading accelerator programs and a global hub for entrepreneurship, Berkeley SkyDeck, founded by UC Berkeley students, alumni, and faculty who were seeking to bring their scientific and technical discoveries to market. Whoop, there we go. Going to get that up there. The program is ranked second to Stanford in producing venture capital-backed entrepreneurs. Caroline is a serial entrepreneur, civic activist, angel investor, advisor, and board member of several startups, and a frequent speaker on startups, accelerators, women in business, and consumer science, neuroscience. I mean, everything that we love to chat about. Please join me in welcoming Caroline to the room. Woohoo, Caroline, thank you for joining us today. Round of applause. Welcome, welcome.
Thanks, Andy. Great to be here with you.
I'm so excited to have you. Where are you hailing from right now?
I am in Berkeley, California, right near
Needless to
UC
say.
Berkeley.
Yay, beautiful part of the world. Has anyone been to Berkeley before? Do we have any UC Berkeley alums in the audience? Let us know. Okay, and a quick hello to Brent from Ottawa, Canada. He is our wonderful, diverse person who's always reminding us that a seat at the table is important for neurodiverse people. And this is very important because neurodiverse folks tends to be an invisible disability, and we want to make sure we have the space and create the space for our neurodiverse employees and team members to shine. I also want to remind everybody to please pop any questions. This is the beauty of the Startup Life live show. We're live. So when you swing by, you can get a burning question answered, right? And you can also amplify what you're doing. I'll bring up your business name, one-liner, URL, and we will celebrate your work in the world. And given all the replays for this show and podcast, you will have incredible exposure. It's a terrific opportunity. Hey, Kevin Heyer. Oh, Kevin's doing remarkable work in the world. Kevin, throw in your URL and business name because it's amazing. And we have a LinkedIn user saying, UC Berkeley Haas, go Bears.
Go Bears.
Get the clappers out for that. My husband is a UC Berkeley alum, and he was just delighted to hear that you were going to be on the show, Caroline. So let's talk a little bit about your story and how you got to where you are today, from a musician to Neurofocus marketing leader to founder to accelerator leader. Take us on a little bit of a journey of your background and where you've been.
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to say it's a winding path I took to entrepreneurship. So I'd like to say any of you who are thinking, I don't know if I have the right background to be a founder, listen to my story. So I started out as a professional violinist. That's not my actual violin. That's my just cool display. My real violin's in a nice case, hiding away. But that was my first career. So I was trained as a professional violinist. I played in an orchestra. I taught violin. And then I decided that I wanted to go into business. And for my amazing luck, UC Berkeley Haas MBA program accepted me and let me in. And I'm forever grateful for that.
But what was it about business? I mean, I always tell folks, I think being a musician, because you have to be in an orchestra, which means you have to get along well with others because you have to make a beautiful sound together. Why did you say, well, I'm going to take my background in music, because you went to music school as an undergrad, into business? What was that? Was there a moment that you had going, I want to get a business degree? What compelled you?
I wanted to create things. I wanted to create enterprises. And it was always kind of floating around my mind, even when I was practicing scales for 3 hours a day. And so I took a chance on applying to business school. And fortunately, they let me in. And I found out later, I asked the head of admissions at the Berkeley MBA program, I said, I'm really glad you let me in, but why did you? I had no business experience. And it turns out she had a daughter that played the violin, and she knew how hard it was. And she said, if you could go to that grueling music school and get through that program, I figured you could probably hack the MBA program. So,
well, I want to do a shout out to anybody who's had to take music theory. I mean, that's right up there with statistics, in my humble opinion, right, Caroline? I mean, music theory is major math. All right, folks, you were using some critical thinking in that. And I agree with the person who was part of the acceptance committee. If you could do what you did with the violin and get through those arduous courses, I'm speaking as a mother whose son went to music school. Oh my gosh. So amazing. And so you got through the program, and now you've got the music background, and what I call, really, especially for women, the credibility of the MBA that gives you real full permission to just go ahead and launch, right?
Right. So I didn't do what nearly all of my classmates did. I did not go into consulting. I did not go into investment banking. I didn't go work for a large corporation. I actually went to work for a very small company that was doing something that at the time was new, which was recycling management programs. And so went and did that for a while. That was fascinating. Then ended up running my family's publishing company for several years after my father retired. So did outdoor guidebook publishing. Then I took time off to be a mom and homeschooled my twin daughters for a year. That was
bless your heart
experience. Yes. Then when my kids, and then I had a son, and when my children were a little bit older, I went, okay, it's time to get serious about this startup thing. And then fortunately, I happened to be married to someone at the time who came up with a really interesting idea for a business. Yay. And that was Neurofocus. And
what is Neurofocus, Caroline?
So Neurofocus, a company that uses medical grade EEG. Those are the caps you put on your head with sensors. And we measured brain waves, and we turned that raw data into insights for brands to understand what their consumers were thinking and feeling about their products and their advertising. And it went from 0 to acquisition and 25 million in revenue in 5 years. So it was the blast off experience. We were acquired by Nielsen. So that was the rapid rise.
Congratulations. But I mean, you must have been holding on like a horse, like get a runaway horse running with you. That's really a lot to have happened in just 5 years.
Yes, it was quite a ride. And I through that experience, I know what it's like to be a founder in the hot seat. And I know what it's like to take everything you have. My husband at the time and I put all of our savings in the company. All of our bets were on the table. We pushed that big block of chips to the middle of the table.
With 3 children, by the way, in the background.
Children. And we got to the point where I was, asking my parents, could we borrow money to pay our mortgage?
Yeah.
We were all in. Right.
Oh my gosh. I can see, it reminds me of what Steve Case's parents said to him while he was trying to get AOL off the ground. They're like, are you sure about this? As they wrote another $5,000 check for them.
Yeah. But my parents, thank goodness, were very supportive. They trusted us.
Yeah.
And because they could see we were all in. And fortunately, it worked out. And I like to say, it's a combination of hard work and luck in life. But the harder you work, the luckier you get. And
okay, everybody. All right. You know what's going to happen right there. Here we go. Our first stitch that on a pillow moment. The harder you work, the luckier you get. I love that. And that's so true. Founders, I know you know what Caroline is talking about.
Yeah.
But also now, and was your husband part of the team?
Yes, he was the CEO.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we were co-founders at the beginning. And then we ended up, I took the CMO role because that's what I loved doing.
Well, I ask because, as women founders, when we go to raise funding, and if we have a co-founder, those investors often look at the guy, and as you know, they're going to ask pro questions versus preventive questions. So as you were learning how to raise funding, was your husband the one who went out and pitched folks, or were you involved in that pitch process as well?
We were involved, but that was a dynamic, startup teams are different. That was a dynamic where my husband was the charismatic CEO. He was very gifted, extremely gifted entrepreneur, brilliant speaker. He did the pitches. We all pitched in. And nobody knew we were married because of
different last names,
different everything. He was born in India.
Wow.
I'm a California girl. Nobody knew we were, they just
oh my gosh,
didn't think we were married. So, which was helpful because it can be a liability to have a married couple as part of a team. And there are investors that actually will not invest in family founded teams.
Yeah,
there are some. And it's difficult for the woman's credibility, et cetera, et cetera. And I was seen as an independent person. So that helped.
And you're still married?
No, the business did really well. The marriage, we parted on
Caroline,
good terms,
I asked that with sincere humility because my husband and I launched a .com together. Raised $8 million. Turned down 14 million from Bear Stearns because it was 1999, right? And the people on our cap table weren't interested. Thought we could make it without the additional capital, giving away equity. Little did we know what was going to happen. But, we had, and I say this, folks, because we brought a therapist in to save our marriage after that. And she lived with us for 5 days, because it was just, it's hard, folks. It's really, really hard on relationships. And
Yes.
I want to encourage everybody to go on Medium and check out my post, When Your Loved One Isn't an Entrepreneur. Because in there, so even if you are coupled up and with an entrepreneur, it's tremendous relationship advice about the tough but important conversations you need to have as a married couple. So thank you for your candidness. And I'm so happy the business had a great outcome. And I'm sure everyone is doing really well today. But so what did that teach you? How did that inform you as to what you wanted to do next?
Yeah. So it informed me. I think that the big learning is just how intensely focused and how hard you have to work to make a startup work. For it to really work, it has to be an all-encompassing commitment. And there can't be anything, there can't be competing priorities, which can be incredibly difficult for any human, but especially for women.
Right.
And there's lots of different ways to work that out, but you have to have that understanding, and you have to have that grit and determination. I've seen many founders take this path, and the ones that succeed with 100% correlation are the ones who are absolutely determined to make it succeed.
That's right. They get through whatever mountain they have to climb. May I ask you a few questions about the exit? I just want to pick your brain just a little bit. Were you building for that exit? Were you preparing? Were you always putting together, like, what's our number for when we want to have an exit? Or was it Nielsen called or something? You had some conversation happen in there. You were like, ooh, that'll work.
Yeah. A good company is not focused on the exit. A good company is always focused on the product and the customer. Yeah. That was our focus. Nielsen was our first and only outside investor. And so we had a relationship with them. Yeah. And when they made the offer to buy, we discussed it, and things turned out well.
Right.
But I tell my founders, never focus on the exit, focus on the product and the customer.
Excellent advice, everybody. I'm just going to get the clappers out for that. Really take that in. And I know founders listening, you're going to go, okay, that's so good to know. To focus on the product, focus on the customers, keep moving your business forward to a sustainable, profitable place so it can continue to scale and grow. But thank you for sharing that about the exit. Was it a tough negotiation? Were you handcuffed at all for a few years, or were you able to go, thank you and see you bye?
No, it wasn't. I mean, no negotiations are a walk in the park, but it was a relatively, I'd say, non-strife filled negotiation.
Excellent.
And we ended up, us executives stayed on for a while and to help the company transition into Nielsen, which was really, what we wanted to do, because it really was a new way of doing consumer research.
Sure.
And it was all very different. And the only people who really could speak about it in a way that was extremely credible was us at the company, because it was a very different way of understanding consumer behavior, using neuroscience. And it took us a while to figure out how to present it in a way that was digestible to people who didn't understand neuroscience. And that whole process to me was fascinating. I loved it. I learned, as I like to say, I'm not a neuroscientist, but I play one on TV. I learned enough about neuroscience to know when people go, oh, she knows what she's talking about, when my knowledge is a mile wide and an inch deep compared to a real neuroscientist.
Right. And you could see, getting into like Y Combinator or even the SkyDeck today, people who are going to be reading the application would have back then gone, I have no idea what they're talking about, and I don't understand how they'll ever get there. So congratulations on figuring that out. I just want to say a quick hello and thank you, Kevin Heyer, for sharing your wonderful platform, Higher Calling. That's HYER calling.org. And Kevin is really solving a very important problem in our society. If you or someone you care about is in recovery from the disease of addiction and looking for a second chance at a career, the Higher Calling Foundation offers no cost individualized post-rehab support services that insurance does not cover to help make that happen. And folks, you know, between the opioid addiction challenges and many of the other addiction challenges, this is so important. So thank you, Kevin, for taking that on. And Emily, oh my gosh, how are you? Emily Sylvester, founder of, I think it's Nurture. Nope, it's not Nurture Talk. It's Mother's App. Anyway, she has a wonderful app, folks. I'm going to have her pop it into the comment threads for moms postpartum. You know, there you are trying to figure out nursing, all the things that all of a sudden you're just overwhelmed by the 12 diapers a day. Of course, in Caroline's case, it would have been 24 with twins. But Emily says, yes, the spouse who is not an entrepreneur is held hostage without knowing what the blindfold is. Carolyn,
I absolutely love that. That is a great way to put it.
Excellent. It really is, because it's just not in their sweet spot, and it's not their passion, and it's not their love. They're going to love you no matter what the outcome is, right? And so, and Emily, thank you. Mother of Fact. And Emily, are you on TikTok yet? I'm just telling you, your IG reels are so outstanding. I want to see you on TikTok. But everybody, if you are a new mother, go to Mother of Fact app, and Emily is knocking it out of the park with her tech space. And as you can see, Emily has, you know, an MS and an RD and an LDN and IBCLC. There's no tech founder here in all her initials after her name. So I love that representation, Emily. So let's go on and talk about the wonderful SkyDeck, because, you know, the SkyDeck has been around. I'd love to know, when did they form the SkyDeck? What year was that? When did that happen?
SkyDeck was launched in 2012, which was before I got there. And what's important to know about SkyDeck is that we're not separate from Berkeley. We're not a partner. We're not a not-for-profit hanging out next to campus. We are a Berkeley program. And this is what makes us unique. We're a Berkeley program. We're part of campus, but we operate like a private startup accelerator. That's kind of what we look and feel like. We bring in companies, we move them very quickly, we get them funding, we have a demo day, we push them very, very hard to move very, very fast. But we're Berkeley. And when it was founded by campus leadership, by the deans of engineering and business and the vice chancellor for research. They put it in the top floor of the tallest building in Berkeley, hence the name SkyDeck, with 360-degree views of the Bay Area. And they gave it some initial funding, and they really set it on a path with a lot of support by the university to succeed, which at the time in 2012 was pretty forward thinking.
Yeah.
That was before all this university accelerator, right?
We didn't start seeing the university accelerators until, I'd say, 2018 at the earliest. I mean, Harvard didn't even start theirs until 2018.
Right. Yeah. And certainly not at the scope and scale that was envisioned. And then I came in and at the end of 2014, and it was in 2015 that we started the accelerator program, 6-month batches, bringing in new startups. We expanded the eligibility to not just students and faculty, but to all UC founders. And then when it really took off and the wave really started to grow and push was when we launched our dedicated partner venture fund, the Berkeley SkyDeck Fund.
Wow.
And that's when our moonshot trajectory started. And since then, let me give you some numbers. My very first batch that we started at SkyDeck.
And is it once a year or twice?
Twice a year, every 6 months. The first batch had about 55 applications. The most recent batch had almost 1,500.
Oh, wow.
We had about 15 startups in our first batch. Now, with all of the 4 programs we have combined right now, we have 120 startups.
Nice. Oh, that is wonderful. And I love that you're twice a year too. You know, we have Mass Challenge, of course, which is global now, but they're, once a year, but, they have the 128, usually 130 companies that are coming on board. And the SkyDeck, if you apply, you have to be a UC alum, or you can be anyone now.
You can be, so we have several different programs.
Yeah.
For our accelerator track, our Berkeley accelerator track, you have to be either a UC alum of any of the 10 campuses or one of the national labs.
Yeah.
Or you can be a founder who's an international founder looking to launch and grow your company in the US. So we get quite a bit of deal flow, applications from startups outside the US, and we bring them to Berkeley the same way the campus brings talent from all over the world. We bring talent from all over the world, and they become Berkeley through our program. We also have.
Wait, I love that you say they become Berkeley. What does that mean?
So they are looking to connect to the Berkeley ecosystem, which of course we're part of, to help their business grow. So they hire an intern who's a Berkeley student. They might find a co-founder who's a Berkeley alum. They might get a faculty advisor. We bring that talent to integrate with Berkeley. They might work with some labs on campus, and we bring that talent to mix with the Berkeley talent, and it to great effect. And everybody loves it, and it helps not just our companies, our startups, but it helps our academic mission at Berkeley, which is bring great talent and give opportunities to students to have internships with real startups, which they love.
Of course.
We have almost 2,000 Berkeley students attending our intern fairs every year.
Wow. That's amazing. And can I just say how excited I am that you bring in the international crowd, because there are some great startups around the world, but when they go to enter the US market, it becomes very difficult. It's a whole new language. I mentored an Italian startup just recently out of Milan. And of course, their pitch deck, when you do in Italy and you're pitching for money, you have to use all the words. Right. Whereas, here in the US, it's as few words as possible. So, that's so important. And that really makes my heart sing that you're bringing in the international folks, because having been on the campus and, married to an alum, I know the depth and the breadth of your school, of your university, and it's always forward thinking and it's always coming up with innovation. So what an excellent opportunity for folks to become part of the accelerator. And so you have 2 cohorts a year. Is it free, or do you take some equity for the cohort?
Yeah. So yes, well, let me explain, because it's different for our different programs. So let me try to make it simple.
Yeah.
So we're a university program. So we do need to charge some program fees for the fair market value of our program, right? We're a not-for-profit public university. So we do it, and it varies between the different batches. In terms of equity, here's what's really interesting. So, I like to say from constraints come creativity. So when I said, okay, it's time to launch a fund at Berkeley SkyDeck, I went to the campus leadership and I said, can we launch a venture fund to invest in the startups? And they said, unfortunately not. We're a public university. That's not something that we can do. So I said, okay, fine. I'll go find someone to launch a dedicated venture fund and invest in all of our startups. So I found a fund manager and I said, hey, Sean, I want you to launch a dedicated venture fund, invest in all of our startups, and give us half the carry, right? Which is the fund manager profits. And fortunately, he said yes. And so a great relationship was born. And so the way we invest in the startups is that the Berkeley SkyDeck Fund, which is like any other venture capital fund, invests in the startups that we select. And then when there's carry, which is fund profits, that will be donated back to Berkeley.
Excellent.
Half of the fund profits are coming back to the SkyDeck program. And so we like to say all we have to do is find the next Tesla, the next Apple, and voila, no one will ever pay tuition at Berkeley again.
That's right. Bring on the unicorn.
That's a pretty wild moonshot dream, but that is our goal, is to bring lots of revenue to Berkeley.
Yeah. And Caroline, I just love how you pulled on your for-profit in coming up with a creative outcome for your program, because you transitioned into this nonprofit world, which comes with a whole bunch of constraints. And especially when you're talking about a prestigious public school like UC Berkeley. I love that you, as you said earlier, constraints will bring great creativity, and you solved that. Was it hard for you to adjust going into the quote academic world and nonprofit, or?
Surprisingly, no. Which if you told me, before I joined SkyDeck, hey, you're going to be a staff at a public university and you're going to love it, I would have said, no, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm with startups. But it was a perfect natural fit. And because I work with startups all day. That's what I do. I work with founders. I help founders. That's my world. I love it. But also being part of an organization that is mission driven and not profit driven has turned out to be something that I truly love.
Wonderful.
And being part of an organization whose goals have nothing to do with the bottom line has been incredibly meaningful to me.
Wow. So it's all about the impact.
Yeah.
Oh.
That is our goal, is to bring great solutions to the world to solve big problems. And along the way, we'll be helping support our students and we'll help support our campus with these fund profits.
That's wonderful. So talk about the application process. Are folks apply? Do you have readers? You can tell I'm a mentor for many accelerators. I've seen all types. What is the SkyDeck application process like?
All right. It's quite extensive process. So of all those applications that come in that I mentioned earlier, we have a large selection committee, which is made up of our advisors. We have at SkyDeck about 500 advisors and mentors who are all volunteers that help our program.
Yep.
This is our superpower. And about 100 of them sign up to help us with this process. So phase one is the applications are read online. Phase two is that's winnowed down to a series of first round interviews. At those first round interviews, we invite advisors to come and help us review those applications. And then from that's trimmed down to a final review of about a third of that. Mm-hmm. That's a final interview. That's a longer interview. We make sure that there are people in the room that have the technical or scientific expertise that is needed. And from that, we select finalists. We select the batch. And that happens now for our two programs, Berkeley SkyDeck and SkyDeck Europe, which you mentioned Milan earlier. That's where Berkeley SkyDeck has opened. Our first satellite location is in Milan, Italy.
Oh,
and we now have.
My gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Mwah.
Exactly.
Oh, there's nothing better than, with all due respect to all the founders out there in the world, there's nothing more delicious than Italian startup founders. That's a wonderful place in the world to be. And how long does that application process take? So you start and it's, 6 weeks before you get it down to your final cohort, a couple of months?
Yeah, the whole process takes about 2 months from applications coming in to reading them to selecting them through the final interviews.
And how many are going? So you have about 120, 130 into your cohorts now, right?
We have, as I mentioned, there's 4 programs. There's SkyDeck Europe, SkyDeck Berkeley. There's our incubator program we call Pad 13, which is where a lot of students and faculty bring their startups. And that's our first priority is Berkeley students and Berkeley faculty. And then we have our international partner program where organizations from around the world can sponsor teams to come to our program and be with us for 3 months and go through some of our programming and get to know Silicon Valley and Berkeley.
Well, and I'm just going to bring up, Brent's question here, because this is so important, especially since you're on the top floor with a gorgeous view up there. How accessible is your program? Are you bringing in folks with disabilities and different walks of life? How does that work?
Yeah. So remember, we're UC Berkeley, and that value is incredibly important to us.
Yes.
The whole program is physically accessible for sure. We're very attentive to when we do have a founder in the program who is differently abled, we make sure they're comfortable. In fact, we had this amazing founder in our last batch. He was the co-founder of one of our startups that was making a robotic knee rehabilitation device called, the company is called ATDev. The founder, his name is Owen Kent. He's an incredibly amazing founder. And he came and brought all of his glory and his incredible, inspiring presence to SkyDeck. And I hope we're incredibly properly aware of him and his presence and how to make that a great experience for him.
That's
We've
wonderful.
had a couple of different label founders at SkyDeck. Absolutely important Berkeley value to make that really work.
I love this. And I love that you keep coming back to the Berkeley value. Folks, this is a university that really is about democratizing access and ability and making sure everybody has a chance to really bring forth whatever it is that they want to be fully expressed in the world. I mean, you just hold on to those values very deeply. And I love that you have it as well in SkyDeck in your accelerator program. So from what I heard, that this is not virtual or hybrid. You bring your people here. And how many weeks are they there for the cohort?
Yeah, it's currently hybrid. So it was in person all the time.
Okay.
And then COVID came and put a lid on all of that fun stuff.
It sure did.
Now we're back. And the founders want to be in person. We want to be with them in person. Yep. The magic happens in person. Without question. We all know that. But the world is a little different now. So now instead of full 6 months in person, we have about the first third of the program in person. The middle is remote optional. Founders can work out of SkyDeck if they choose, but the programming is done remotely. And then the last third of the program is in person. And of course, demo day is now hybrid, which we love because it's both on stage, which gives the founders the opportunity to come on stage and be there and have that live experience, which is a really important experience. And it's live streamed. It's live streamed so much.
So we can all watch it. So we can get on the email list, right?
It is for accredited investors only. So,
okay.
So join us if you're an accredited investor. We'd love to put you on the
Excellent. Excellent. And again, folks, that's what I call democratizing the investment pool. When you can bring investors in and have them see, instead of them always being inundated with applications, pitch decks, et cetera, this is a true warm introduction. They know the caliber of folks that Berkeley SkyDeck has brought on board, and it's a wonderful opportunity to get funding. So this is a 6-month program. You're taking them through the business map. You're helping them get really clear about their customer segment, go-to-market strategy. Are they all in different stages?
No. So for the accelerator programs, they're all pre-seed or seed.
Okay.
So they're at a very similar stage. You can't sort of batch coach a group of startups if they're in widely different stages.
Yeah. So, but they have to be launched or at least have their MVP.
Yeah. They have a team. They've built something.
Yep.
If they are a life science company, they have enough data and indications that gives them a path forward towards a clinical validation.
Great. And I talked about this earlier, folks. UC Berkeley or Berkeley SkyDeck or any kind of accelerator that you can get part to join. All right. It is so important. And Caroline's brought up a few of the wonderful benefits. But most importantly, it is that founder support, which is why it's so wonderful. That first third of your cohort time period is in person. There is nothing like the boot camp experience with other founders, right, Caroline?
There's nothing like it. And some of the most important relationships they will make during the program is with each other.
Yeah.
And when you're going through what is often the most challenging thing of your entire life, it's great to have other people who are also going through the most challenging part of their life and have them sitting right next to you, and you can go out and have a beer or have a cup of coffee and just
commiserate.
Be with someone. Yeah. Share the joys, share the challenges.
Yeah. And also, folks, as each of you in the cohort figure something out, there's going to be a component of that solution that another founder will be able to use in some part or portion of their business. And that's why we like to talk about that here in the Startup Life Live show, Caroline, is all the parts and pieces. How did people, get to MVP? How did they figure out their go-to-market strategy? How did they get customers and acquire them? What was the process? How did they get funding? And so do all of your founders in the program get funding, or is that up to them, or how does that work?
So it's the process of funding. It's the dog eat dog world of investment.
Okay.
What we do know is that when startups graduate from our accelerator programs, they have a much higher rate of institutional funding than the average startup. So about 60% of the Berkeley batch has been receiving institutional funding post SkyDeck, which we're very happy with that number. That's a very good number. We don't have that number yet for our Europe program because the first batch literally just graduated
Congratulations.
a month ago. So we'll have that data in a few years. But we know we give them a much better shot at really good institutional funding through our program.
Yes, you do. And I recall a stat I saw that like you're second behind Stanford as far as accelerator programs that get VC funding for their entrepreneurs. So
that's for our whole campus. That's the number of startups that that are founded by Berkeley students. And I'm going to make a prediction that next year we're going to be number one. So stay tuned for the pitch book data next year. I think we're gonna take that number one slot.
I love that. And folks, Caroline just mentioned pitch book data, right? Pitch book is a great place that's always spitting out all the stats for raising capital and the startup ecosystem. And so that's wonderful. So you've been at this for about 8 years. What is it about watching this whole process from bringing them on board from that first day when they show up into the cohort to when you see them do that final pitch on the stage? What is it about this that lights your heart up?
Yeah, it's their founder journey that I absolutely love to see and think, could my program, could we have had some impact on that founder's journey from coming to SkyDeck at the stage they're at, both personally as a company, and then watch them move to where they are both personally and as a company when they graduate, and seeing the incredible progress they make, and watching the founders walk on stage at demo day as absolute pros to a very large audience. Is being a part of that is incredibly satisfying to me.
Oh, it just has to be. I know as a mentor and, as part of these programs, how rewarding it is. So, and you're leading the programming, you're making sure they're getting the valuable information. Folks, nothing prepares you for this, not an MBA, nothing. Only being in the founder's seat prepares you to be a founder. So a program like SkyDeck is so important. So, we have the apply here. You see the lower banner there, everybody. You can go to skydeck.berkeley.edu/apply and, follow SkyDeck everywhere it glows so that you can have an opportunity yourself. I know that there's a founder tuning in right now, wherever you are, that you're going, I had no idea. What's the SkyDeck? What? And you could actually be in the next cohort, which is hold it, I have it right here. I'll just get rid of your banner for just a second here. So the next SkyDeck applications open February 23rd.
Correct.
So what does that mean though, Caroline? That means they can start applying for it in February?
They can start applying on that date.
Yeah.
And then our program has twice a year batches. They start November 1st and May 1st. So we just kicked off batch 15. Woo! And batch 16 will be May 1st. So all of you out there who've got an idea or have got a team or a product, we would love to see your application. Reminder, to apply for the Berkeley SkyDeck program, you need to have some kind of eligibility, and it can be someone on your team associated with any of the 10 campuses or founders who are international.
Excellent.
And we've had companies say, hey, I'm neither of those. Let me go find a UC person to join my team. And then they apply. Fantastic. We love to see that.
Oh my gosh, I love this. And again, it comes back to your mission and vision for the program, which is to give back to the campus and make sure that innovation continues at UC Berkeley on every level. I also love that in 2018, you got together with a group of folks there and said, you know what, we need to be more committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that's on every level. And folks, when you go to to Berkeley SkyDeck's website, you will see when you look at the team, tremendous diversity, especially for the women that you have on your board and your partners. Can you talk a little bit about that initiative?
Yeah, so we are aiming as high as we can to try to do two things. Number one, make sure that our program looks and feels inclusive to any founder.
Yep.
Again, that's such a core Berkeley value. So we want to make sure that any founder from any background feels comfortable applying to SkyDeck, and once they get in, that they're comfortable at SkyDeck. That's our, and that once the founders are there, who are from different backgrounds, it could be, we heard from a neurodiverse person earlier. That's a special background. A female founder, a founder of color, differently able founder. That once they're there, they have any support and coaching that is relevant to them. Yeah. That's number one. Number two, and this is the harder one, increase the deal flow from a diverse set of founders. And I think we all know the numbers. It's moving about the same speed as turning the Titanic.
Yeah, no, it's volcanic in the sense that it's going nowhere. And it's been that way. Yeah. Folks, I've been watching and involved in the VC world for 30 years. Okay, since 1992. I have seen zero movement except for maybe a few female-led funds out there that invest in funds, but
yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah.
And it's an ongoing effort. I am hopeful that because there has been a bit of a jump in the number of actual female investing partners at VC firms, that will start to move the needle. But I think it really is just going to take a long time to move that needle for diverse founders.
Right. And Caroline, I just feel that the more we have people who look like us investing in people who look like us and actually write the checks, I think that's what's going to really help move that needle and make the difference. Because, and we've seen the funds, but again, it can be really sexy to want to go where Andreessen Horowitz is investing, or some of the other really well-known funds are investing, instead of just going with what you know to be true. And folks who watched the show last week and heard Pauline Coble talk about her fund, which is She Equity, and she invests in African female founders. Boy, the stats and what happens out there is just so tough, but it can be changed. And she shared with us, Caroline, the numbers. So in Africa, you give a female founder, and this is tech, not just, a skincare product, but really incredible, innovative companies. You give them a female $2.50. She's going to put the whole thing pretty much back into the company and the economy and the community, where the stats were showing, 40 cents from the guys. So the numbers are there to invest in female founders. And I love that you're doing, your part in the cohort to see if we can get those female founders and our Black founders and our Latino founders the funding they need under really tough circumstances. And I'm glad that's happening. But more importantly, Caroline, I love how the SkyDeck looks like the diverse canvas it should be as far as the leadership.
Yeah, it does, as does our dedicated venture fund.
Yep.
It's half female in the fund.
So yeah. And so important. And the dedicated fund, do they also fund other entrepreneurs, or are they strictly for the Berkeley founders?
It's strictly for the Berkeley founders, for our accelerator tracks. And then they will invest outside of the accelerator, but only in companies founded by Berkeley alums.
Oh my gosh. And I didn't put this up. Oh my gosh. So folks, here's SkyDeck by the numbers. Raised by Sky Teams, $1.47 billion. Sky Teams receiving funding, 60%. Series A, B rounds raised, 25. Exits through acquisition, 17. Attendees at demo day, 1,000. These are great numbers. So folks, you can go visit the skydeck.berkeley.edu website and see more about their success record. So speaking of success, I mean, it depends on where you are, right? What success looks like for you. But right now, what does success look like for SkyDeck for you at this point in time?
Mm-hmm. So I'll put that in two ways. Because we're a Berkeley program, we aim for world-class excellence that's a Berkeley value, to be the absolute best. So we want to be the world's top global accelerator, period. No qualifications, not university accelerator or accelerator in California. We want to be the world's top global accelerator. That's success for us. Success is also, and equally important, helping support the academic public education mission of UC Berkeley. So giving opportunities to our students, faculty, and alumni to launch their companies, giving opportunities to students to have internships with really interesting startups, bringing talent to Berkeley to mix in with our amazingly talented students, faculty, and being a center of excellence as part of UC Berkeley's global reputation as a center of excellence for learning and change.
Yep. Bravo. I get very clear about that vision and mission. Beautifully, beautifully expressed. And as you're looking back on a few decades of your life, of how you have spent in the entrepreneurship world, how has this journey really impacted your life, both professionally and personally, Caroline?
Mm-hmm. I consider myself incredibly lucky to have chosen the path of an entrepreneur, despite its challenges. And, when people ask me, what'd you do before SkyDeck? I joke, I was a serial entrepreneur. And I killed some of them, but two of them I didn't. And they grew up and got acquired. And now being involved with many startups and not just my own, I am at the forefront of human ambition to create positive change. That's what startups are. They're about, I want to build something, I want to make a change, and I want to have the most personally meaningful and impactful experience that I can have. And I'm surrounded with those people all day. And I'm surrounded with those people in the context of supporting UC Berkeley. And I feel incredibly lucky to have this opportunity to be part of this amazing world.
Oh my gosh. Well, we feel incredibly lucky to have learned from you today and to hear about this incredible program, and also the passion that you have for what you're doing as a leader of an accelerator that will be #1 in the world, based on the fact that it is an accelerator, not university, not broken down to some category, the #1 accelerator in the world, empowering founders to bring their best to the world. I am just so thrilled and delighted that you joined us today to share your story, your background, which is so fascinating, but to also share this program with us today, Caroline. Any last words in how we can help you add wind to your sails? Anything before I pop you in the green room?
Whoever you are, whatever you're doing, put your heart and soul into it. Go all in.
Yeah.
Go all in.
It's the best.
That's my words.
Yep, yeah. That's the best advice. I love it. I would absolutely say I'm having an Andy-licious moment over that one. It's the only way to live, folks. And as Caroline said earlier in the show, it's how you win, is that you have to be all in. No matter what the outcome, remember, I'm always telling you, nobody loses when they launch a business ever. You always, always win.
Totally agree.
Caroline, for joining us. And I'm going to pop you in the green room and wrap up the show. Thank you for your wise words and for sharing your remarkable program with us.
Thanks, Annie. This has been great.
Oh my gosh, everyone. We just learned so much. I had no idea. And as I said earlier, my husband's an alum of the school. I had no idea about SkyDeck, and I am thrilled and over the moon to share Caroline and her wisdom and her wonderful program with you today. Let me share with you who's coming up next on the show. We're going to be chatting with Justice Mendez. And Justice is the co-founder of 161 Ventures, a hybrid accelerator and VC seed fund. Their 10-week accelerator program covers topics from building an MVP and customer acquisition to forming a team and raising capital, and has a strong mentorship component. And this is for, you newbie founders that are still like, I kind of got maybe duct tape together, or maybe Wix website MVP pulled together. This is the accelerator for you. And it came out of University of Florida. Justice and his partner were having roundtables, founder roundtables and masterminds there. So we're going to continue the theme of mentorship and accelerator programs and getting funding on Friday, November 18th at 12 p.m. ET. And how do you know whenever I'm posting a new show? There you go. You've got to join the Startup Life Live meetup group. That way you'll get an alert and a deep dive on each guest. Links are in the show notes, or you can scan that QR code. I am so grateful you carved out time to tune in and join me today in the Startup Life Live show. I want you to remember that you are braver than you think. That's right. And you're stronger than you seem. And as we say here in Boston, you are wicked smarter than you ever knew. And that's the best thing about the startup journey, is that you find out, oh my gosh, I'm wicked smart. I figured that out. So thank you for carving out time. I'll see you the next time. Wishing you a delicious day everywhere you glow. Mwahs to all of you. Cheers.